Hello, once again, dear friends. Today is day 4, and we will be delving into a very important aspect of open presence. And I call it melting into emptiness. The term emptiness might sound scary, as if nothing exists. It might sound like a vacuum or a big black hole. But actually, emptiness means no such thing. Next time when you hear the word emptiness in relation to the mind and in relation to consciousness and meditation, understand it in this way. We are talking about emptiness in terms of how things exist, how our experience exists, how our mind exists. In other words, we are talking about the final or ultimate nature of how our consciousness exists. When we investigate and inquire into experience without any preconception, without any attachment to how things should be, but simply having this deep and perplexing curiosity into how things truly are, then we might come to this startling realization that things we take to be solid and real are not actually that solid and real. And our minds and our experience that we grasp onto as solid and real may not be actually so. If we are honest about ourselves, our experience, honest about how things are on the outside, we can easily come to the realization that everything changes, everything arises and dissolves, including our experience. Nothing is static, everything's dynamic. And as we probe further, it is also very easy to realize that there's nothing that we can hold on to in the world or in our experience that is not disintegrating moment by moment. This is not to make us freak out and panic and fear, but simply acknowledging the reality of how our experience unfolds moment by moment. And probing further, I invite you to look more closely to what you call your awareness. This sense of knowingness that is luminous because everything can appear, that is aware, that is the experiencing element in our experience. Look into this experiencing luminous element. How does it exist? You'll find that you cannot actually grasp onto this luminous experiencing element. It is not there as an object, and it does not exist in the way we think it does. It is not solid and real in the way we assume it to be. Because when you look for it, you can't find it. If something truly exists, the more you look for it, the more it should become clearer to you. The more it should become more evident. The more it should manifest in a solid and real fashion, concretely. But the nature of our experience and the nature of this experiencing element itself cannot be found the more you look into it. The more you look into experience, the more you look into this experiencing element, this knowing element, the more it eludes you, the more you cannot find it, until you end up in this no man's land of it's not there at all. And yet, it is not completely non-existent because you do experience, you do know, you do have awareness. But the more you try to grasp at it, the more you cannot find it. But the more you cannot find it, the more it does seem to appear not as an object, but as the flow of experiencing itself. So it's not non-existent, it's not void, and yet you cannot truly find it. That is emptiness. So by emptiness, we mean being empty of any inherency, empty of kind of existing by its own power, in its own right, independent of everything else. Such kind of existence, independent, inherent, non-contingent, autonomous, self-powered existence is not possible. Nothing in this world and this mind and awareness itself lacks inherency. Therefore, it's empty of inherency. That is emptiness. Now just rest in that spacious present for a moment and investigate it right now, your experiencing element. Dive deep into it as if you are turning awareness back onto itself, diving deep into its very nature, and see whether you can find it as an object at all. Search for this mind and you cannot find it. That's emptiness. And yet it does not exist because your experiencing quality is ever present and ever manifesting. By keeping alive this recognition of the emptiness of inherency in the midst of your experience, that your experiencing itself is empty of any inherency, then what you find is that all the distraction, all the objectification, all the rigmarole, all the drama of consciousness melt. They melt into just this empty flow of luminous knowing. They melt into the luminosity of knowing that is empty of any inherency whatsoever. Try it. Try it right now. Breathe naturally, breathing even as I'm breathing right now. Release and relax into the immediacy of this very moment, knowing that you're breathing, knowing you're knowing, releasing into that pure knowing nature, free of any object, and dive deep into the very center of that knowing to find that this knowing does not exist as it appears. It is not a concrete, solid, inherent thing. It's ungraspable, it's unfindable, and yet it shines. And yet experiencing happens. Melt into that emptiness of inherency, without fear, without favor, allowing that realization, insight, recognition of emptiness to blossom in your being. In this way, you are able to return and rest in your aware being without solidifying that aware being into some kind of self, some kind of I am, and what belongs to me or mine. Otherwise, without this sharp wisdom of seeing its empty nature, we can rest in that awareness and mistake it to be some kind of self that is permanent, unchanging, and inherent and absolute. That is what is called conceit, ego conceit, which is the root of separation and suffering. Even though we feel as if this pure I am is kind of infinite and boundless, but as long as the notion of I am is there, there is a hidden limitation. There is a grasping of selfhood that at some point will manifest in a separation between self and what is not self. Even if that separation remains dormant at that point, it can sprout and bear fruit, the fruit of separation and suffering in moments least expected. So, dear friends, as we learn to recognize our open presence, our aware being, let us not forget this investigation into its very nature, its ultimate nature, that is empty of any self nature. And in that emptiness, in that lack of any inherency, any notion, and any sense of inherency, free from those signs of inherency, be free in that signlessness, be free in that emptiness. There is no need to fear, but rather there is so much to rejoice. So, dear friend, Thank you for accompanying me on this profound journey, melting into emptiness of your conscious being and touching the innate freedom that is ever present. Namaskar. I look forward to seeing you on day 5. But meanwhile, be well.